Now, Netanyahu sits at the head of a cabinet that is that would not survive without radical right support.
Yeah.
For the first time, Israel has radical right in the regime. Likud alone, the party of the prime minister, will not stand to gain power unless these parties, three parties, I think, are supporting him. Now they have their own agenda. They want settlement. They have no particular love for Palestinians.
Welcome to the Gist on Strat News Global. I'm Surya Gandadhar. There are indications that the Israel Gaza war could escalate. Uh, there are reports about about Iran preparing for a strike on Israel. What kind of strike, we don't know. There's even reports of the Israelis readying for a preemptive strike on Iran. And how bad could things get? We have with us Mr. Mahesh Sachdev, a former diplomat. He's an Arabist. He served in the region and writes frequently on the regional issues there. Ambassador, welcome. Glad to have you.
Thank you. Um, I'm
So,
happy to
what
be
is
with
your
you.
sense of where things are likely to go now? There is talk of, as I mentioned, the Israelis making a preemptive strike on Iran. There are reports about Iran readying for strike on Israel. What's your take?
Can I begin slightly more expansively by citing an Egyptian anecdote?
Sure.
There was flood in Nile, and a frog was crossing the river
Hmm.
when he found a scorpion sinking. Scorpion didn't know how to swim, and he gulped air and asked the frog to save him, give him a piggy ride across. Frog said, "You think I'm mad or crazy? I put you on my back and you sting me and both of us die."
Hmm.
Scorpion said, "But that's illogical. I, uh, if I sting you and you die, I die too. Why? Because I can't swim." So the frog said, "Okay, that makes sense. Come on, hop on." So Scorpion hops on, and they are closing in on the other shore of the river when inevitable happens. Scorpion stings the frog.
Hmm.
While frog is turning from green to blue and going down, he said, he says to Scorpion, "You stung me, but you yourself said that's not going to be logical if you did that." The Scorpion said, "But my friend, it's Middle East. There's hardly anything logical here."
Yeah.
So that's where I would like to begin. As you already mentioned, I'm an expert on Arabs, and the fight that you're talking about is between Hebrew speakers and Persian speakers. So, well, spare me a bit on that account, but for whatever it takes, let me uh, give you my two penny bit. Uh, I think there's no gainsay in telling you that Israel and Iran don't like each other, particularly the current regime, which is extreme right wing in Israel, and the mullahs, radicals in Tehran. They have huge antipathy with each other. It goes back to the Iranian king having demolished in 70 BC the first Jewish temple.
Yeah.
that long back. And both of them are historic civilizations, and their sense of animus goes 20 centuries deep. Uh, the new edge has been added when you consider the recent developments, including uh, Iranian embassy bombing in Damascus in April, and Iranian response by sending some 300 projectiles towards Israel on April 13th, and recent killing last week of Ismail Haniyeh, the PLO's, I'm sorry, Hamas's political wing head, who was in Tehran for the swearing in of the new president. Uh, Fingers have been pointed towards Israel without Israel either denying or accepting it. Iran, right from Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei onwards, has vowed vengeance. And the first shoe has dropped, and the whole world is waiting for the second shoe to drop. You know the anecdote, I told you this last time about
Mhm.
the Egyptian. Uh,
So, so sir, tell me, Iran has lost face immensely, isn't it? Not for the first time. Earlier, they had lost some of their senior generals, and virtually in their own doorstep. And now Ismail Haniyeh, in a suburb of Tehran, and it's still not clear if the rot is something internal to Iran or is external.
well, losing a face is obvious, but at the same time, it can be contrived to send a message to masses about the conspiracy that Islamic Republic faces from bigger Satan and smaller Satan. So it is going to be used domestically to purge the inconvenient elements,
Mhm.
raise fingers, and to have night of long knives, as it is called in Arabic, to get rid of people who are supposed to be uh, less than uh, less than pakka in their in their loyalty towards Islamic Republic and its radical identity. So I don't take it as losing the face. Every such occasion, be it killing of the general that you Soleimani that you mentioned, be it killing of the nuclear scientists, etc., has
Yeah.
been uh, has been used to feed the narrative of Islamic Republic being surrounded by enemies, that requires mobilization of masses, mobilization of resources, and that requires mullahs being given free hold.
Mhm. But how long can they do this? The regime, is it in your own reading of the situation? Is it unpopular? Is it getting less and less? It's losing the ability to drive the narrative, control the people. I mean, what's your sense?
I think it's a dynamic situation. When Soleimani died, the throngs that came to pay homage to his corpse before burial were big enough to cause major sort of traffic and other problems, if you remember.
Yeah.
There were many people who died being trampled over. Uh, so, Iranians are basically patriotic people, and they have a sense of civilization, being old and take pride in their history. which is marshaled by the people in power to connect with that sentiment. At the same time, inflation is pretty deep. At the same time, resentment about hardline policies, including hijab and so on, is deep. And lack of freedom, monolithic narratives being purveyed for years and years together are sapping the public. People have been migrating with their feet all over the world. You find Iranians in exile, including United States and Canada, uh, the two enemies, etc., etc. Uh, Flights out of Tehran are full. So
Hmm.
all that is there. At the same time, there is very determined core of people at the helm who who want a strong Iran, who see the the country under threat and are willing to sacrifice today for promised future.
So, what you're telling me is that a war at this point would be politically convenient for the clerical leadership, for the leadership.
Ab- Absolutely, I think so. I think a country that endured 8 years of Iraq-Iran war,
Yeah,
uh, sacrificed over 1 million people. It was Iraqi weapon systems which were far superior to Iran in isolation, and the Iranians used their people as cannon fodder. Uh, so all that happened, and Iran had, in one particular vicious bombing of cabinet meeting, it lost prime minister uh, and uh, I think 5 cabinet members in one
yeah.
single incident of bombing during that era, and yet the system survived. The way system survived, President Raisi being suddenly killed in a helicopter crash 3 months ago, also shows that system has its endurance, has its capacity to rise again. So make no mistake, Iran is quite resilient political system and political economy as well, and its leadership has fed the narrative of country requiring sacrifices, and in fact, when it comes to that kind of sentiments, I think Iran is quite unique given its Shia background, where uh, victimhood, all the way from initial days of Islam, is
Yeah.
deeply ingrained in their blood. And that is another source of strength for the country. It's the only Shia country in the world, and therefore there is certain sense of identity that it comes with. Uh, I think as long as it's a controlled um skirmish or sense of hostility with Israel uh, or United States, the country would stand together with the leadership. But if it uh, comes to long, winding, and very destructive skirmishes, series of wars, etc., etc., then I think its situation would be unpredictable, and people may start blaming the leadership for having precipitated such an act. I should here also tell you that there is no dearth of internal dissension in the country, apart from the leadership itself being divided into moderates and liberals. um, right now, sorry, I should say conservatives and liberals, or hardliners and liberals. Right now, liberals have been uh, re-establishing themselves with a, a president being elected, but uh, conservatives or hardliners, Islamists, have controlled the theocracy. They have also controlled the parliament. So other two organs are with them, and president knows that he is in minority of one. He has to go with what supreme leader says. That's one fissure. Second fissure is that there are significant minorities, particularly in the various corners of Iran. There are Arabs, there are Armenians, there are Sunnis near Pakistan, Afghanistan border
Yeah.
that are in active state of insurgency off and on, and there are a number of Iranians outside from those who want Pahlavi dynasty to return, those who want Mujahideen al Khalq to succeed in replacing the mullahs. Uh, they are waiting for the opportunities. There are also Kurds who want to make an arc of their own country across five different countries, including Iran. So it's a pretty thick plot, and potential for stability uh, is is pretty high. But then, for the moment, the mainstream Iranian in the street is with the government, more or less.
Mhm. So, in that sense, even Israel, when Netanyahu speaks of a preemptive strike on Iran, it would be helpful for him also politically.
Well, internally in Israel, it's a totally different ball game. Now, Netanyahu sits at the head of a cabinet that is that would not survive without radical right support.
Yeah,
For the first time, Israel has radical right in the regime. Likud alone, the party of the prime minister, will not stand to gain power unless these parties, three parties, I think, are are supporting him. Now they have their own agenda. They want settlement. They have no particular love for Palestinians. They are not interested in any settlement of the Palestine-Israel issue, and it's a perennial source of power for them to again externalize Israel's problems at the door of great Palestinian Arab conspiracy. Secondly, before the war started on October 7, Mr. Netanyahu was already on the ropes for three corruption charges. Oh, he was also on the rope for cutting down the power of Supreme Court, which
yeah.
which had caused massive demonstrations by Israeli public, and the economy was not doing too well in tandem with the rest of the world. The tech sector on which Israel prides itself was going down all over. Fangs were going down in United States and taking Israeli tech sector with it lower. So all that being told, he was already in trouble, and in retrospect, it will look as if he has used this uh, abominable uh, attack on October 7 to his advantage
Yeah.
by, by distracting public opinion away from him, forming a national unity government with the opposition, so that they don't have they do not have an agenda to attack him and
Mhm.
question why such an attack could happen despite Israel's fabled intelligence agencies uh,
Mhm.
having failed. So all that was given a cold burial for the time being, but these ghosts are going to revive in case he uh, he finishes the Gaza conflict without attaining any one of the three objectives: release of hostages, elimination of Hamas, and pacifying the Gaza Strip itself for future. So the public is likely to ask as to what was all this fight all about.
Yeah.
So he has to create a digression. One war is finished, another war starts, perhaps with
Mhm.
Hezbollah, perhaps with Iran, so that public continues to be uh, diverted towards external dangers. Uh,
And
I
he has the big
suppose.
boys on his side, sir. The US and all rallying to his cause.
Uh, I won't say that. The U.S. situation is known to you. It's a lame duck presidency
Yeah.
which doesn't want any more trouble than it has already had because it's now question of legacy. Legacy that includes uh, ignominious withdrawal from Afghanistan, legacy that includes Ukraine war having started, and despite all that braggadocio, not having concluded it.
Yeah.
Legacy about South China Sea and spat with Chinese that has continued during his term, and some Trumpites would say that he has weakened United States position in the against China. Of course, he has done well in economic terms. United
Yeah.
States is has created a lot of jobs. It has economy has revived, but latest figures and Federal Reserve's reluctance to lower rates put a question mark there. So President Biden, as he prepares to relinquish power in 3 months, doesn't want Israel to do anything rash, so that he does not have in the last 3 months new problems to take care of. Having said that, he also doesn't want to go down as a president who refused to see Israeli prime minister till the last 3 months of his reign. He
Yeah.
doesn't want to go down also as a president who allowed Israel to come under repeated Iranian attack and change the dynamic of Israel's military superiority that United States has ensured all the way from 1948 till now. So the situation is a bit complex. Uh, I think one should also mention that earlier, perhaps the Jewish lobby in United States was far more effective than it is now. There are fissures within that community after Gaza war, uh, with the major chunk not feeling easy about the huge death and destruction that past 10 months have brought together on Gaza. Secondly, the number of Arabs and Muslims in United States has gone up, and the campus protests that took place across the United States over Gaza even to the point of universities threatening to ban the students demonstrating on that issue, uh, show that United States voter composition has changed, and that significant change, uh, perhaps political elite has yet to absorb.
Mhm.
So all that put together, I think United States support for Israel is supposed to be ironclad, but within that cladding,
Lots
there were
of, yeah.
many screws that are in need of replacement.
Mhm. So, last word on India. We've been fairly active on Ukraine. The PM is even heading there later this month. Um, as vis-a-vis Gaza and the war over there, we don't seem to be doing anything much.
I think below the surface there would be plenty of uh, consultations with United States, with Israel and Arab Gulf Arabs, particularly with Iran. Uh, I think we are like many other countries in a clear quandary.
Hmm.
On one hand, we have our tradition of supporting Palestine cause going all the way back to Mahatma Gandhi, who
Yeah.
in 1930s gave a famous interview to Jewish Chronicle saying that Israel does have a, Jews in Europe have a cause, but the cause does not allow you to replace Palestinians in their own country. So it dates back that time, and India is committed to that kind of two-state solutions. At the same time, you also have newly found over past 2 decades or 3 decades uh, uh, conviviality with Israel, and Israel is a pretty important source of defense hardware and high-tech investments, etc., etc. So there is a certain dilemma there for us, and I think we have acted with due diligence. We have sent our largest flotilla to the West Indian Ocean, uh,
Yeah.
near the Gulf of Aden, to avoid our ships being coming to harm through piracy or through Houthis, and to give support to those who are struck for various reasons there. And this has been appreciated, but we're not part of any coalition, and we have been waiting for uh, the the Arab consensus to emerge. Unfortunately, the elusive Arab consensus does come up sporadically in Arab leagues or OIC's resolutions condemning Israel and asking the global community to do more. But Arabs themselves have paid largely lip service, humanitarian assistance, etc., to their affected brothers in Gaza and West Bank. So we we cannot be more Arab than the Arabs themselves, and I think we also have to think in terms of our own interests, which lie with 9 million Indians in the GCC countries. They should not come to any harm, and creating them would be huge and avoidable endeavor. So that is where it lies. We do hope that by keeping a low profile, we join the majority of global community who want to uh, want these hostilities to end, tensions to simmer down, and then peaceful resolution to emerge. I should say here that with an analogy to 1973 war, it was quite epochal. Israelis uh, were taken by surprise, like they did on October 7. They recouped, but yet were pushed back towards the end of the war when ceasefire came. Uh, they were on the other side of the Suez, but Egyptians were on this side of the Suez. 5 years later, a peace process started, which led to Camp David and Egypt-Israel treaty, uh, dividing the Arab world into pro-Egypt and anti-Egypt factions. I I won't be surprised if this particular war also eventually leads to realization that bloodletting does not solve any problem, and two exhausted sides would rather negotiate than to uh, wish each other oblivion.
Yeah. Yeah. So, just to sum up, sir, at this point, what kind of escalation is going to happen is not very clear. But clearly, it is politically convenient at this point in Iran to rally the population on its side for the clerical leadership, and equally so for Netanyahu in Israel, who needs a prolongation of this war, as you mentioned, to ensure he stays in office. Ambassador Sachdev, pleasure talking to you, sir. A lot of perspective there. And let's see how this thing pans out going forward. Thank you very much.
Well, let's keep our fingers crossed.
Thank
The
you.
scorpion is still on our back.
That's all we have for you in this edition of The Gist. Do subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on social media. Thank you very much. Good day.